Welcome to Piano Inspires podcast, celebrating pianists, teachers, and innovators as they share their inspiring stories about the transformative power of music.
Are you passionate about piano education and eager to delve deeper into its nuances? The Journal of Piano Research is your gateway to scholarly articles focused on the art and science of piano education, proudly presented by the Francis Clark Center for Keyboard Pedagogy. We are calling researchers and educators to contribute to the Journal of Piano Research by submitting manuscripts of original research projects. Our international publication fosters systematic scientific exploration of piano teaching, learning and performing, and discussion across a spectrum of methodologies, from quantitative and qualitative research to ethnographic, historical, and philosophical approaches. Each issue showcases original, unpublished research that aims to elevate professional understanding, practice, and scholarship in piano pedagogy. Visit journalofpianoresearch.org to learn more about submission guidelines, current articles, and how you can contribute to the dialogue that shapes our community. Thanks for listening to the Piano Inspires podcast, and enjoy the episode.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Piano Inspires podcast. My name is Pamela Pike, and I am editor-in-chief of the Piano magazine and co-editor-in-chief of the Journal of Piano Research for the Francis Clark Center. It is my great pleasure today to be joined by Wilfred Delphin, and I'm going to read, my apologies, I'm going to read your short biography here.
Okay.
Dr. Wilfred Delphin, one half of the internationally renowned piano duo Delphin and Romain, made his Carnegie Hall debut in 1977. The duo toured the United States, South America, Asia, and Europe. After Romain passed away in 1995, Delphin continued performing and teaching, and his fans included the former president, Jimmy Carter, and you did a solo recital in the East Room of the White House, I believe. You retired from Southern Illinois University School of Music in 2004, and after that, you spent, I want to say, about maybe 8 months in the Peace Corps, volunteering in Senegal. Yes, great. And then you returned and became a faculty member, artist in residence at Xavier University in New Orleans. And you retired from that position, how long
2019.
ago? 2019.
Just before COVID.
So it is, as I say, a great honor to have you join us today for the podcast.
Thank you very much.
So we like to start by asking everyone to just share a little bit about their childhood, because we know that childhood can really inform our musical development. So was music a big part of your community? Was it important in your home? I know you have siblings. I want to say 4, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yep.
Did you all take piano lessons?
Actually, we all did. My 2 brothers and sisters all had lessons. None of them pursued it really very seriously. My 2 brothers were very, very interested in athletics, and in fact were both captains of the football teams in high school. And my sister just really did not like the piano. And I had a younger brother who was too young to actually pursue lessons. But my sister likes to say that she's the reason that I started piano, because I would walk her to her lessons. I would listen and sit with her and listen. She hated it. I was fascinated by it. So eventually we switched roles. We would walk to her lessons together. She would play outside, and I would sit and take the lessons. Yeah.
Did your parents know this was
happening?
happening?
They didn't know that at first, and they weren't at all pleased about it. But when I showed serious interest, it really did. It became, my father had died, but my mom said, okay, yeah, you can continue. But about that, it's really interesting. I was born in a small town, and during the days of segregation. So there was really the possibilities of studying with a trained teacher. Well, it was essentially impossible at first. So my first teacher was a woman named Mrs. Flossie Hawthorne. She taught me how to read the notes. And when we got through with that, she said, well, you should go over to another teacher, a Mrs. Geneva Lee, who again was not formally trained as a teacher, but she had really good instincts because we would take lessons in groups. So we would sit there and listen to each other play. Ms. Lee was very well known in the community as a gospel pianist. And she really was. I mean, much later, when I had gone off and went back to El Dorado, Arkansas, which is where I was born, I heard her on several occasions, and she really was very, very good. She stressed a lot of basics, I mean, scales and arpeggios. She started me in the John Thompson piano method, and but then she would assign solo pieces. So it was really very good. The one thing that she didn't do was she did not allow me to improvise. She said, no, you need to know how to read these notes. So that's what you do. So I stayed with her for, I don't know how long. And then she said, well, now you need to move on to another teacher. And so I went to Mrs. Williams, who was teaching at the high school, and stayed with her for a year or so. And then somehow I found Melvin Ballard, who was the organist at the Methodist Church in El Dorado. Now, as I said, this was during the time of segregation, so there was real separation in the community. Melvin was white, and it was really kind of brave of him to take me and a friend of mine as students. And he not only taught piano, and in fact, the first concerto that I ever studied, that Schumann A minor concerto, he introduced me to that. But he arranged for me to take some organ lessons and even to practice on the organ at his church, which was really wonderful. So my education, that business about it takes a village, it certainly did take a village. Oh, and I did have an aunt who played. She played for the church, our small Catholic church. The minute I was able to do so, I had to play for church. And in my later years, I realized that that was wonderful practice for sight reading, because at that time in the Catholic Church, we did Latin masses and we did traditional hymns, a lot of, well, not a lot, but motets and all. So it was really a very, very good introduction to the music that I became so involved with later. Yeah. So I guess in a way, when I think back on it, I really did have an unusually rich education in music. And then I also played in the band in the high school, which was good. Not very well, but I played French horn.
Oh, did you?
Yep. And had a chance to study violin. Yeah, which was also, I was not in any way any good at it, but it was good training. Yeah.
And you're listening differently when you play wind instruments and stringed instruments.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how did you know you wanted to become a musician or at least get an undergraduate degree in music?
I think my aunt has a lot to do with that, because she was very encouraging to me. And going through high school, in my junior year, the schools were integrated. So I was one of 8 students that went from our predominantly black, our entirely black Washington High School to what had been an entirely white El Dorado High School. And there at El Dorado High School, because I was, again, not very good at violin, but I was playing it. So I was introduced to ensembles, which was really a revelation to me. And I thought, gosh, I really like this. So I knew in high school that I wanted to major in music.
Mm.
Now, it took some convincing when it came to my parents, because I had done well on those tests that you take in high school. So I had lots of possibilities. I even had an invitation to join the military academy.
I can't picture it.
No, that wouldn't have been good. But anyway, I had it. But I knew that I wanted to pursue music. I knew that I wanted to teach music.
Mm.
I knew that I did not want to teach music to little children. So I knew that I was going to have to go to college, because college level teaching is what I wanted to do. So it was a fairly easy, and then because I came from a very strongly traditional Catholic family, it was almost understood that I would go to Xavier in New Orleans, which again had, for a small school, had a really excellent music program, still does. Mm-hmm. And it really was the right program for me. There had been talk of maybe trying to go to a conservatory, which somehow never interested me.
And I don't mean, I don't want to, I'd love you to come back to that, but when we look at the school, you graduated from Xavier and then Southern Illinois with a master's in performance and pedagogy, right? And then Southern Mississippi, if I remember it correctly. Yeah. So it's just curious to me. Was staying in the South important? Was it the teachers? And you might want to come back to that.
Yeah, but it was just a result of circumstance, I guess. Because as I said, I went to Xavier. Xavier did have a very good reputation in music. It was a small school, and I think I knew that I wanted to be in a smaller school. At Xavier, a teacher from SIU, Stephen Barwick, came down to play. Stephen was a wonderful pianist, and he played an all-French program. And I and the person who eventually became my duo partner, Edwin, we were just really taken with him. And Stephen heard us both in a master class, and he said at one point, he said, listen, you guys should do some two-piano work. So he arranged for us to get grants and fellowships to go to Southern Illinois. So we really went there to work with him, and he encouraged us while we were doing our solo rep. He encouraged us to do duo and duet literature. We did more duo than duet. And in fact, the piece that we eventually made our Carnegie Hall debut with was something, a Poulenc concerto that Stephen had introduced to us. After the master's at SIU, I wanted a break from school. The only job I could find was at the University of Southern Mississippi. So I went there to teach half-time. They were just starting a DMA program. So they said, listen, you have the time. Why don't you enroll in this program and work on a degree while you are teaching? So that's what I did. While that was happening, Edwin had gone over to Alabama to teach, but we knew that we wanted to pursue the duo career. So he came to USM, and we studied with a couple of the teachers there, really more coaching than actually studying. Edwin with Stanley Waldorf, and me. My teacher's name has just flown out of my head. That happens these days. But anyway, we had a great time doing that at USM. I ended up getting a doctorate. Edwin did too, which we always wanted university level teaching, so those doctorates were important. It happened, and I suppose it happened in a logical sequence that we couldn't see until it was happening. So, yeah.
When did you both know that you did want to pursue a duo career? Or how did you come to that realization?
Yeah. Well, actually, way back at Xavier, we were part of a piano lit class that involved a lot of duet playing. And Edwin and I...
You taught classes like that as well.
Yeah. Edwin and I were very often duet partners. We had other partners, but we were often duet partners. And then Stephen came and said, "Oh, you guys should look into it." And at SIU, when we played the Poulenc Concerto, we realized, hey, it's pretty cool to have an orchestra do. And we did other concertos there at SIU. And when we left, even though he went to Alabama and I went to Mississippi, we still found ways to get together to practice. I don't know when it actually clicked that we did it well. Well, here again, a crazy sort of coincidence. We both went to New York to play for singers in a competition. And somehow the people who were the judges for that competition, and I can't quite remember how this happened, but somehow they got wind of the fact that we did two piano work. And at the time, we knew the concert coordinator for Baldwin Piano Company. And again, just because I want to call the name, it won't come to me. But so it was arranged that we would go over to the Baldwin factory and play the concerto for these judges. And they said, "Oh, you guys really do that very well. Would you consider the competition?" And we said, "Well, sure." So we played, and then we were told, "Would you consider withdrawing from the competition?"
Oh, no.
Which took us by surprise. But then they said, "Yeah, we'd like for you to withdraw from the competition. So, because the winners of the competition would have a joint program at that time, Alice Tully Hall. And they actually wanted us to do a concert with the Symphony of the New World in Carnegie Hall. And we were so young and we were so inexperienced. We thought, well, okay. And I mean, we certainly knew that Carnegie was important. We knew it was all important, but it was happening so fast and so kind of unexpectedly that, we said, sure, we'll be glad to do it. And
the rest is history.
Yeah, and those events, that made us think, well, maybe we really should seriously pursue this. Because along the way, we had continued to build repertoire. Yeah. So
it seems to me, and I could be remembering this incorrectly too, but I remember you talking about years ago, I think there was an intentionality in the repertoire, repertoire you chose, but in just then how you moved forward with your career as duo pianists. Like you memorized all of your music, you know. I don't know if there's anything with respect to that you'd want to share.
Well,
I mean, you knew you were really the first Black piano duo for sure. So I'm sure that comes with it a sense of responsibility.
mhm.
But I'm sure you also wanted your career to be successful and long lived.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, we had the great good fortune of people along the way, once we started to play, of wanting to help us, to help us develop a career, because we had not gone the route of the conservatories, and we had not gone the route of competitions, which are very important if you want to have a career. Um, so, in a way, that was almost to our advantage, because people, I think, in the initial early days, I think they thought these guys don't know what they are doing. So people really did take the time to help us along. And very early on, one of the things that we were really fortunate with was getting grants to get commissions. So there are pieces, a couple of pieces by George Walker that were written for us. Adolphus Hailstork wrote some pieces, Jackie Harrison. I mean, a lot of the composers who were finally getting the attention that they deserved, a lot of them really did help us out in terms of giving us this new repertoire to play, which gave us inroads that maybe some other pianists didn't have. So, yeah. But then we did also do Mozart, Rachmaninoff, Chopin, the standard duo piano repertoire. And we did a lot of duets, Schubert and Mendelssohn, but really our career was based more so on duo playing.
Yeah.
Mm.
And you traveled with your own pianos, I believe, if I remember.
Yeah. It's interesting. When I knew that I'd be here judging the Stecher and Horowitz program, I went back to look at a video of them in their early days. And it reminded me so much, because they talked about getting a truck and having to dismantle pianos to put them into the truck and take them out to prepare for concerts. And also, they talked about the kinds of concert venues that they played in, which in the early days, man, they represented a range. Yeah, we toured with those pianos. We'd go to New York, pick them up from the Baldwin Company. Jack Roman, who was the concert director at Baldwin, thank goodness his name came to me, he was very instrumental in facilitating that. And eventually we did become Baldwin artists. Yeah.
I remember you telling stories about that with the pianos. But, I think it's good for even our young aspiring performers to hear that, you weren't always playing in the best halls,
No.
and yet you still had to make good music, and you still had to communicate something to your audience.
Yeah, I still had to make, and there again, it really just kind of worked out, because we did a tour. There was a group called the Southern Arts Federation. I think they're still in existence, but at that time, they were very important, because there were these federations for the South, the Midwest, and so what you do is, if they took you on, they would kind of co-sponsor concerts, but you would go into communities where having two pianos was an impossibility. So the only way, and that really brought us to some very interesting concert spots. I mean, we went to a small town in northern Louisiana, not too far from where I'm living now, called Clucheville. And we set up the pianos in a high school gym, and we played, and my uncle attended the concert. And it was a standard, a concert of standard repertoire. And afterwards, I said to him, well, Uncle Floyd, what did you think of the program? He said, well, son, I can't say that I understood that music, but I looked at your fingers and I thought, boy, that boy could pick some cotton. Well, the thing about that is someone heard that story and somehow it got to NPR. So NPR called and did an interview. And this was at the beginning of our career, so it was great exposure. John Edwards was the guy who, these names come to me. It takes a minute, but so things like that, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm also struck by the fact that you were writing grants to be able to do these commissions. And I think, again, I think of some of our DMA students who think they will never have to write to be a performer.
Oh, no. Yeah. Yeah, we wrote grants. We also, even after we got an agent, we would spend lots of time sending out flyers, making contacts, because especially in the early days, but almost throughout, so much of the success in terms of getting dates had to do with personal contacts. But yeah, we spent a lot of time doing things like that. In fact, one time we enlisted the help in order to stuff flyers into envelopes. We enlisted the help of a group of Boy Scouts, I think, over in South Carolina. And I think it was Boy Scouts, but anyway, it was a group of kids trying to make some extra money. And they would laugh at our pictures, and they would laugh, but they got a big kick out of doing that work for us. Yeah. No, yeah, there are very few artists out now who have successful careers for whom a manager has done all of it. There are some, but a very, very small number. Yeah,
that's a good point. Good point. What were some of the highlights from that time period in your performing career? Once you,
well, certainly, the White House performance was.
Tell us about that, please.
Well, and by the way, that was with Edwin.
Yes.
It wasn't a solo. Yep. Well, it was solo in the sense that we were the recitalists for that evening. I don't know. I guess it's going to sound like our whole career was based on luck, but quite frankly, luck had a lot to do with it.
But you were also prepared.
Well, yeah.
And I remember you instilling that in your students.
Yeah. Luck can get your foot in the door, but then if you can't play. But we had done a concert at the Kennedy Center as part of a festival. And the White House social secretary had attended that concert. Evan and I went off to do some concerts in California and Oregon and I think Washington. And while we were en route from California up to Oregon, we got a call from our agent saying, I just had a call from the White House. They wonder if you would be available to do a program. And we said, well, sure. At first we thought it was a hoax, but we said, well, sure. Yeah. So we got ourselves together. Jimmy Carter was president. You mentioned that. And there was this political situation going on with Russia. The Daniel Arap Moi from Kenya was visiting the White House. Jimmy Carter was trying to get Kenya to boycott those Olympics. So I guess since Evan and I were African American, it seemed like a good fill-in. I don't know who was supposed to perform, but we knew that we were substituting for someone. It was interesting for us. A big part of our repertoire at that time was the second Rachmaninoff suite. So when our agent kind of described to us the circumstances for the invitation, we thought, well, gosh, how is that going to work with doing a Russian composer? And they said, I suppose the White House said, don't worry about it. And sure enough, President Carter introduced us that evening, and he mentioned that Rachmaninoff was going to be a major portion of what we did. But he said that Rachmaninoff had the good sense to immigrate to the United States. No, but you asked me about that. That was really, I mean,
Of course.
we had never imagined that we would do a program for that particular audience.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, it was one of the easiest programs that we had done because it happened so quickly.
Mm.
It came up so quickly. And when we looked out at the audience that evening, and there were all of these faces that we recognized from the news and from it, but we realized that these folks are not music critics per se. They are here for the pleasure of the entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
And it somehow made it unusually easy to do that program. But then there were lots of other programs that were really exciting. So, yeah.
I think if we move forward in your career a little bit, so teaching has always been important
Yeah.
to you. You mentioned that, and you've taught at, several different institutions,
Mm-hmm.
but two for a prolonged period of time. And you've certainly impacted many students, but I still imagine that transition moving from being part of a duo piano team to then finding other ways to collaborate
Mm-hmm.
with people and perform. And you are still performing today, even
Mhm.
though you're into your, I believe, second retirement.
Yeah.
But you are busier than ever. So,
Mhm.
but I wonder if it's not too personal, if you might talk about that transition and the thought process that goes into that.
Oh yeah, it was a difficult transition because Edward and I were partners on and off stage. It was very difficult, and that's the reason actually that after his death, I taught for a year, but then I took a year off, which was wonderful. It was just a wonderful thing. I went walking in the mountains over in Nepal,
Mhm.
and not for a whole year, but for several weeks. No, but it was a time to really kind of put things into perspective. And when I came back from that trip, I knew right away that I was going to leave. I was at
Mhm.
Carbondale at the time. I knew that I was going to leave because I just needed to be away. I did that stint in the Peace Corps,
Mhm.
which was a wonderful experience, very difficult, but wonderful. But the difficulty of it was good because it helped really me to focus on the fact that while life had changed for me, music was still constant. And I knew that I wanted to stay involved with music. I had enjoyed collaborating with Edwin, so I knew I wanted to continue collaborating. I knew that I did not want to ever again step foot on stage as a solo player, and which I have not done.
Mhm.
But no, it was difficult. There was a period of time when I actually started to play harpsichord because I thought, this will be a good thing to do. It's very different. But it didn't take long for me to understand that really fine harpsichordists have to spend a lot of time becoming really fine harpsichordists. And while a pianist can manipulate the keys, there's a big difference when you really want to do it properly.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so it was difficult. I had, in performing with Edwin, I had actually learned quite a lot because his whole approach to playing was very different from mine. I would always kind of channel Mrs. Lee, the scales, the arpeggios, the Hanon, the Czerny, all of that. Edwin was from a whole different background in New Orleans. And with him, if the music wasn't colorful, if the music didn't make musical sense, then it wasn't worth doing. So it was great for me to have the opportunity to learn from that. And I know that I'm kind of mixing up the routes that you probably want me to take.
No, this is great.
But I do think that every solo pianist needs to spend a lot of time doing chamber work. I think that there's just no better training in terms of learning how to listen, learning how to adapt. Because in my teaching of advanced students especially, it's very hard, or it seems to be very difficult for them to kind of get away from thinking, oh, well, I have the mechanics of this to do, but to kind of step back and listen to what they're producing. Mm-hmm. And doing chamber work, you have to do that. You have to have your ear out listening for balance and for ensemble and all. So, yeah, I think chamber literature, I think duets and duo literature are wonderful for that, especially when you have the great benefit, as I had, of being paired off with somebody. Everyone was a better pianist than I was, but someone whose whole approach is different. Mm-hmm. That's just a wonderful way to learn. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have another question before I get to the final question. Uh-huh. And I see threads of it in everything you've talked about here today, but I experienced it as well. Community is very important to you, and nurturing community. I remember meeting some wonderful people in your home, mm-hmm. and it was about conversation. Sometimes there were performances and it was music, but other mm-hmm. times it was just speaking with fabulous musicians. Mm-hmm. I remember mm-hmm. talking to William Warfield in your living room once, right?
Yeah.
How do you foster? I mean, it seems to come naturally to you, but it's clearly important to you and you make an effort. And I think you still do that. I know mm-hmm. you still do that. You live in a more remote location now, but you still go in and hear the students play at the closest university. Mm-hmm. You've gotten to know them. They know you. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you could talk for just a few minutes.
Yeah, sure. The community where I'm living is quite rural. I've enjoyed, since I've been there, bringing in artists to mm-hmm. perform. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times the reactions to those performances are like my uncle's was to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't really understand that, but I sure am glad you brought to here. So I don't know. I don't know where that comes from. My folks, growing up in this small town in Arkansas, as I say, as I mentioned, it was very segregated, but they were always doing things as a community group. They built the Catholic church that we eventually went to, and we would have festivals and bingos and things there. And I think maybe that's part of it. But then there again, Edwin had a strong influence because he believed very much in community involvement. And in fact, he served on several panels for NEH to foster that mm-hmm. kind of thing. And so it was really very natural to sort of continue that. Listening to students. I have, in my retirement, resisted taking on students, but I am still very interested in hearing students and passing on comments, and they kind of do with it what they will. Yeah, but I really do think it's a responsibility to pass it on, especially if you love the music and you know that people may not know as much about it as you do. Yeah, I take it. I enjoy doing it, but then I also think I'm supposed to do it. Yeah.
Well, there are so many more questions I could ask you, but we are out of time. But I have to end with one question that we ask everyone. How does piano inspire you?
How does it inspire? I guess, well, just the other evening, I was listening to Andras Schiff play the Bach-Goldberg variations. And I thought, man, this is not just Bach, but Schiff's playing.
Yes.
There's no end to the imagination and to it's just what. And then I also love this young pianist who won Chopin competition, Bruce Liu. And I listen to him. It is such elegant playing, really beautiful, really beautiful. I've been listening to Michelle Kahn, who's playing here tomorrow night. And there again, she's kind of taken it upon herself as a sort of mission to play these new composers, or not so new, Florence Price, but Florence Price is new to a lot of audiences. And I just think, so I mean, it's not only musically and emotionally fulfilling, but there's a kind of mission to it that's also that I believe in, and that is exposing audiences to new things, or exposing audiences to very old things, but that they don't know about. So yeah, it's an instrument that can just do so much for the person and then for the community.
Well, Wilfred Delphin, you are truly inspiring to many of us. And I'm just honored that I get to call you a friend and a former teacher. Thank you for just sharing a little bit of your life with us today, because I think the work you and Edwin did and the work you continue to do is so important.
Well, thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
And I certainly am very proud of you and your work.
Thank you.
The Francis Clark Center is a not-for-profit educational organization that serves the advancement of piano teaching, learning, and performing. Divisions include Piano Magazine, Piano Inspires Kids, Journal for Piano Research, National Conference on Keyboard Pedagogy, the New School for Music Study, Piano Education Press, International Online Teacher Education, and Piano Inspires Online Community Hub. Please visit us at pianoinspires.com to learn more about our impactful work and inspiring community.